My name is John Passfield, and the title of this reading will be John and Mother Goose Video 14, Jack Be Nimble. So here is my novella, John and Mother Goose, Carnival of Tales, picture of John and Mother Goose, and all the mythical characters, the nursery rhyme characters on the front cover. On the back cover, a summary. While driving his granddaughter home from daycare, John suddenly finds himself standing in the midway of a carnival of Mother Goose fairy tales. He's greeted by Jack of Jack and Jill fame, who tells John that Mother Goose is expecting him, as she has a role for him to play. But what does Mother Goose want? Why does she think John is a writer of detective stories? And why, when she meets John, does she greet him almost as a long-lost son? And for that matter, why do so many of the fairy tale characters have different stories they want John to write for them instead of the ones in which they've lived for hundreds of years? John's not a mythical creature. He's only a human after all. But can he save the Mother Goose Carnival? Can he solve the mystery of the vanishing fairy tale? So many fairy tale characters are named Jack. It was a very common name in the old days. And so John is greeted by Jack of Jack and Jill fame, but the one I'm reading about is Jack Be Nimble. In Chapter 7, John strolls along the midway of the Mother Goose Carnival of Tales with Mother Goose, and they stop to watch the plays that the mythical characters are performing. In this chapter, they watch Jack of Jack Be Nimble fame act out his nursery rhyme. So here it is. You might know it. Jack be nimble. Jack be quick. Jack jump over the candlestick. Jack be nimble. Jack be spry. Jack jump over the apple pie. Jack be nimble. Jack jump high. Jack fly up into the sky. So let's read the passages in which John and Mother Goose watch Jack perform his play. This will be Chapter 7, page 47. Let me get it here. Okay, so the faded sign says, Jack be nimble, Jack be quick. Turning the page, a stagehand comes out on stage and places an unlit candlestick down. He turns and goes, pauses as a hand appears at the curtain and points, and then returns to the candlestick and moves it so it's closer to center stage. Okay, now I go over a few more pages to this. Here we are. Jack comes out on stage. He carries two small stones, which I assume are pieces of flint. Sure enough, he rubs the two together to make a spark. When he does so near the wick, the candle bursts into flame. A number of people in the audience applaud. Jack paces off his distance from the candlestick. He pauses, as if concentrating, with his back to the candlestick. And then he turns towards the candlestick and pauses again. His forehead wrinkles and his hands clench at his sides. Then he takes two quick strides towards the candlestick and soars into the air. Mother Goose and I both applaud as Jack bows and leaves the stage. A stagehand comes out with a snuffer and snuffs the candle out and turns to leave. But a hand appears at the curtain and points, and the stagehand turns back and picks up the candlestick and carries it off stage. Okay. Now let's listen in as John interviews Jack after the performance in the character tent. So we'll go back to page 47. Here we are. John and Jack in the character tent after the performance. Jumping over a candlestick. What kind of act is that? This is Jack, not Jack and the Beanstalk or any other Jack. It's the Jack who I watched jumped over the candlestick. He gives off hints of desperation. He seems to be at the end of his rope. I sit and listen to him in the character tent as he sips at a glass and tells his tale. Oh, it was special when I started, John. The crowds would all go wild. They'd be lining up for tickets for every show. I was young and I was nimble. I didn't need to take a run. I could jump from a standing start and soar plenty high. I'd even put the candle on a table as a drum roll raised the odds, and every time the crowd would burst into applause. See me as my younger self, John. See the arrogance on my face. I was doing what none of these people could possibly do. Oh, they all had candlesticks at home, mind you. When they heard that I was coming, kids would try to do what I do. A couple of kids got burned quite badly. I would visit the local infirmary and give what comfort I could. I'd tell the little boys to never try this at home. A candlestick is very, very dangerous, not to be trifled with in a trice. Your whole house could be burned right down to the ground. This is a special athletic event. I am a highly trained acrobat, self-trained but extremely professional nevertheless. Watch my face as I make my jump, John. I was so arrogant in my prime. I never thought that it would all come crashing down. Well, that's the first part of Jack's story to John. Let's go to the second part. I can't see myself, John, jumping a candlestick for much longer, Jack B. Nimble is telling me. It was easy in the early days, but now it's becoming a miserable chore. At first the crowds were huge. They would press against the barriers that would keep them back from the stage. I would sign autographs until my hand was sore. I was always in demand, John. People were mesmerized, in awe, each time I took my crouch for the standing jump. But look around you now. We used to play the biggest venues. We'd play New York and be held over for weeks at a time. Carnegie Hall it was at first. I thought that would be the top. But then things got bigger and bigger year by year. At the height of it all, John, we would do our stadium tours. But look around you now, John. We're playing the smallest towns. The crowds amount to just a few aging fans. A few children are here, you notice, but they've been brought along by their folks. A curiosity for them, and not much else. One little boy told me, John, that he had an autograph from an actor in Star Trek or Star Wars or one of those. He said he never heard of Jack B. Nimble, Jack B. Quick. Okay. I operate on confidence, John. I'm a performer. That's my fuel. I don't know how long I can force myself to go on. Jumping a candlestick these days, John, just doesn't seem to impress the crowds. I need something bigger than just a two-bit show. I haven't met a sadder character. I'm worried that Jack seems so depressed. It's as if I'm his barman or psychiatrist. He leans in close as he tells his tale. He seems so desperate to get back to his former days. Here's what I want you to write, John. I want you to make me a superstar. Here I am with a whole new costume. I want to make Superman move aside. The Earth is in trouble, John. Some people see no future at all. All the seas are full of plastics. All the glaciers seem to be melting. All the deserts seem to be spreading. Many people are going hungry. Soon there'll be no life here at all. I want to be the superhero who springs high enough from the Earth to find a distant planet with enough fresh water that I can bring new life to a place like Mars. Think of the benefit to humankind, John, a cornucopia filled to the brim. Sure, there's been superheroes galore. They've been praised, as you know, to no end, but not one has managed a coup of this magnitude. Of course I'll need some modification. I want a pair of lungs big enough, John, to be able to swallow gallons of water and then spit them out on those dry red rocks of Mars, to make the deserts turn into gardens, so that Mars can become the refuge of the refugees who will flee the planet Earth. I sit and watch the vision. It is Jack in a brilliant cape. Sure enough, he's spewing water on what I take to be, has to be, the desert planet Mars. He flies away for another mouthful. The dry red soil begins to open. Fruits and vegetables rise up. A Genesis moment for sure. Up out of the ground. I look around the character tent. Most of the other fairy tale characters have drifted away. A line runs through John's mind. Jack be nimble, Jack be spry. So, what's the capacity of the lungs, John? Do humans take water into their lungs? No, of course they don't. You humans take it into your stomach, of that I'm sure. Jack is getting quite morose. He takes another sip. I wonder what he's drinking. At times he chokes on his words. But then, that shouldn't matter to me. I'm a mythical character, John. I'll be a mythical superhero, so my exception would be whatever you'd say it would be. Either my stomach or my lungs, John. Either organ's fine with me, as long as I can spew plenty of water on Mars. Okay, so let's go on to the next section of Jack telling John the story that he'd rather live in than the nursery rhyme in which he does live. So, here I am now on Mars, John, says Jack be nimble. If you're counting, we'll call it scene 3. I brought all this water to Mars, John, fresh water that I found somewhere out in the universe, and Mars is now like the Earth when it was brand new. There's water, dirt, and the sky, John. All three are completely pure. Not a one has felt the ravages of humankind. I sit and listen to Jack. The lantern light glows dimly. The night is dark outside. The story seems quite bright, though his face is grim. So here I am again, John. I'm hoping to retire, but I realize that I have to stay on the job. See my pen, John? See my clipboard? I'm doing inventory today. I count the density of the ozone layer. I count the number of trees. I count the number of fish that we have in the Martian seas. Each time I count, I mark the numbers on my chart. It's a very complicated formula, but it tells me what I need to know. If we fall below a certain number, John, what we call a pollution line, then a number of earthlings who live here will have to go. It's like they used to do with Australia, transportation to another clime, but here I send them back to the Earth again. I've pledged to prevent, John, the earthly destruction of the planet Mars. It's depressing, John, depressing. My numbers are plummeting out of control. Every day we round up some people and send them away. Our scientists don't know what to make of it. It doesn't seem to make sense at all. We Earthlings are degrading Mars just by living here. Some people are calling it the curse of humankind. Man destroys what he creates. The human optimist rides the human beast downhill. It's getting late. I'm feeling tired and a little uneasy. It would offend him, Jack, no doubt, if I failed to suppress a yawn. Jack is becoming maudlin. I can't think of another word. Slightly belligerent, rather testy, harping so much on his younger days. He reaches out and takes me by the sleeve. I'd like you to take a look at this scene, John. This is me in my younger days. This is a spring afternoon, John, at a medieval fair, I'd say about 1,000 years ago. See me jumping over the candlestick? Hear the audience ooh and ah? You might wonder why I'm showing you this, but bear with me for a while. Now, we mythical characters don't age, John. I look the same then as I look right now, but if you look closely at the scene, John, and then watch me perform tomorrow, you'll notice that the arrogance is no longer there. We don't change, but times do change, John, and audiences change as well. You can feel old without growing old, and that in itself is a kind of hell. You look around the field of clover, and you see bars. We are out of time on our stages, John, but the midway, the human crowd, John, flows on by. Yes, I'm holding you by the sleeve, John. Yes, I'm staring into your eyes. You have ink and you have paper? Don't ignore my desperate plea. We are not human, John. We are mythical. Take my story and make it happen, John. I might not get another chance. It's only writers who can free us from ourselves. So that's the story that Jack B. Nimble tells John, instead of giving John clues or evidence as to why the nursery rhyme stages seem to be bare. Jack B. Nimble, as he tells John, is acting the role for which he was created for a long time. He shows John a scene of himself jumping over a candlestick at a medieval fair, which he says took place about 1,000 years ago. It's fascinating to think that the crowds, meager crowds we're told, who watch Jack jumping over the candlestick assume that he's happy, enrolled that fate or society or some other force has assigned to Jack. The playgoers assume that jumping over a candlestick is leaving Jack fulfilled. I used to teach 2 books when I was a high school teacher, and I would pose a question to the students after they had read both plays. Here's the question. Willie Loman in the play Death of a Salesman has what Walter Younger in the play A Raisin in the Sun wants. When he gets what he wants, will Walter Younger be any happier than Willie Loman? Each of these plays could be seen by readers as the story of a particular person or a particular people in a particular society, in a particular time, and in a particular place. However, I couldn't help seeing them as representatives of something that goes much deeper in human beings than the surface indicators of the differences among the people of the branches of the human tree. It seems to me that in the branches of the human tree, we are all different, but in the roots of the human tree, we are all the same. The literature that I've most enjoyed reading through my lifetime, I'm currently 78 years old, and the literature that I feel I've been writing for the last 25 years is not the literature of the branches of the human tree, but the literature of the roots of the human tree. Yes, Jack, of Jack B. Nimble fame, has a specific situation which he does not find satisfactory, and a specific situation which he feels would give him more satisfaction, at least in the section in which he tells of his greening of Mars. But there's something about Jack which, despite the fact that he's a mythical, makes him, for me, a representative of every human being who's ever lived on this earth, who's living on the earth today, and who will ever be living on the earth till the end of time. This book is an example of the literature that explores the roots of the human phenomenon. So, this is my book, John and Mother Goose, The Carnival of Tales. It's found on Amazon if you want more information. My publisher's website is roxmillspress.com, where there is even more information. And on my website, johnpassfield.ca, there are 2 free books. The Planning Notebook, which I wrote while I was planning and writing this novella, and the Contemplative Journal, which I wrote while I was polishing the novella. So all of the topics that such a book raises, I guess you'd say, in the mind as one writes and then polishes such a book are discussed there. So have a look at johnpassville.ca if you're interested. Lastly, I'll just say thank you for watching this video.